Another extraordinary morning in the Masai Mara, and we're going to speak nice and softly because we've got two lionesses stalking straight towards an unsuspecting group of warthogs. To warn you in advance, this is not for sensitive viewers. Most lion hunts are not successful, but if they are successful, obviously this is completely 100% live. We don't know how it's going to play out, and it can be something that's quite upsetting to sensitive viewers. So if you don't want to potentially see a lion hunt and kill, please do not watch this. However, for those of you that want to see nature in its complete raw form, then this is what we're going to show you. This is unfolding completely 100% live. In the Mara, you can just see the warthogs moving in through the grass. You see there to the right and above the lions. Long grass, they can't see the lions coming. The lions can't see them either, but they can hear the movement. They're stalking towards them. Ask your questions in the comments section below because this is live. It means that I will be able to answer them for you. She's looking back to see where the other lionesses are. There are 4 adult lions in this pride. Now she's looking back to see where the support structure is, if they're close enough. They don't want to waste any energy on a wasted hunt. So they're going to have to try and sneak up as close as they possibly can. I've lost track of the warthogs. I saw them moving through the long grass. I can't see them anymore. And we just have to sit tight and patiently because at this point it's a very, very sensitive stage of the hunt. The sneak up towards the prey. So by moving the vehicle, making too much noise, we could potentially disturb them. So now we must just sit and watch and wait. I can't see the warthogs anymore. They're here somewhere. They can't have vanished. I don't think the lioness knows where they've gone either. She's listening for the sound of them. And in fact, if I had to interpret their body language in a very human way, I would say they look somewhat perplexed. Where'd the warthog go? Where on earth did breakfast go? Our warthog hunt for lions can be a potentially dangerous thing. Warthogs are not defenseless. There goes the lioness moving. Look at that. Teamwork. One spreading out, moving across to the right. The other to the left. Circling around where they last saw the warthogs, checking to see where they've gone. And the lioness is going to move all the way around. I can just see her stalking through the grass. Now, Maria, you want to know? There, look at her go. Amazing to see these animals in action. You want to know if lions see in color? Yes, not as vibrantly as humans do and not to the same spectrum, or at least not the same amount of colors, but they do see in color. They don't see in black and white only. And just to mention, there are other vehicles in the sighting. The Masai Mara is a reserve, so there are tourists and lodges in the area. They come to see the animals. And bear in mind that the more tourists there are, the more money comes into the reserve, and therefore the better the protection for the animals. Now she's sitting right up in the open, and any second, the lioness that's disappeared to the right is going to start chasing. Craig, at their absolute fastest, a lion can cover between 20 and 22 meters per second. That's how fast they can go. But they can't sustain that speed. They can't sustain that speed for an extended period of time. A lion, there, look, there's the warthog. Its head's just popped up above the grass. I don't know if she's seen it. It's right there. Her vision is attracted to movement. Maybe there's a warthog further to the left as well. Now she's planning out her... Look there, she's going into the full stalk. Warthog's now hidden behind the tree, but it is there. Shoulder blades moving. So what you'll see is an intense burst of speed when... If there's the warthog, she's so close now. So close. She's probably less than 50 yards away, possibly even closer. She's right there. But she's looking for support. to have an additional member of her pride help her. She needs that. Otherwise, she runs the risk of injury. You can just see the warthogs through the grass. I don't know where the second lioness has gone. She's looped around, so she could come bursting out at any minute. Now, the amazing thing about the way in which lions hunt is their social coordination. So they are perfectly adapted to working together as a team. And those bonds between pride members are so strong. It's almost like they can read each other's minds. And all they're doing is picking up on subtle signs from their body language. I just want to set the scene, but I'm nervous of taking our eyes off this one lioness. So let me describe it for you while we watch. So we've got this lioness. She's very, very close to the warthogs. There are two others to the left, waiting in ambush. If the warthogs run in that direction, there they are over there. And then there is one lioness that has looped around and is moving from the other side towards the warthogs. So they've planned this whole ambush out. Oh, she's so close. Morali, is it at an odd time to hunt? Well, it's just after, oh, there she goes. It's just after 8 o'clock in the morning here in the Mara, and the lions here do hunt throughout the day. Obviously, the peak of their hunting activity is in the evenings and in the mornings. The warthogs know something's wrong, but they don't know where the threat is coming from. So now they're trotting away. They know something's not right. And that's probably because the antelope in the distance have spotted the lions and they're alarm calling. But the problem with being a little warthog at this time of year in the Mara is that the grass is long and they can't actually see where the threat is coming from. Imagine, they don't know which direction to go in. They don't know which direction is going to be safe for them. They could find themselves running from one lion into the mouth of another. So they're not panicking yet, because panicking could lead them straight into trouble. Stalking forward, the warthogs have widened the distance between them. Jack, I've seen a stalk go on for over an hour. Okay, they are now beyond her reach. They're now moving towards the other two lionesses who are moving into position. Now remember, as I said, most lion hunts are not successful. They do not result in a kill. But this does provide us this amazing opportunity to watch the teamwork. So it's gone from the one lioness's responsibility into the paws, literally, of the second. She's now stalking forward, getting herself into position, watching which directions the warthogs go in. And the fourth lioness has moved all the way up the escarpment. Okay, the warthogs are running out in front. Something's wrong, but they don't know what it is. Oh, poor things. Must be so terrifying. Stalking forward. Here comes the second lioness. She's the one who disappeared off to the right. Now, this is tough for them as well, because although it works to their advantage that the warthogs can't see, means they can't see the warthogs too. The warthogs widening the gap between the two lionesses on the right. Who's going to succeed here? Are the lions going to have breakfast? They're hungry. They have 13 cubs between the four of them. Or the warthogs, who are alert and wary. Well, exactly, Morali. We spoke about the lion cubs. You say how many piglets in this warthog group. The fact that there aren't any with them would suggest to me that these two individuals don't have piglets. It is breeding season in the Mara for the warthogs, so most of the females do have youngsters with them, and they're at that age now where they are accompanying their mothers to go and forage. So the fact that I don't see any would suggest that there aren't any in this particular group. There are no piglets here. These are both adult or close to adult warthogs. Subtle movements in the direction of the lioness's head. zebra alarm calling in the distance. Or not alarm calling, contact calling. Oh, back towards, it's now all in the hands of the fourth lioness who's off to the left. I don't know where she is, but they are running straight in the direction I last saw her. There's more warthogs at the back, actually. That's one of the cubs, but there are more warthogs behind them. There is a warthog with piglets. So there's actually a third warthog that's entered the scene with little ones. Mohammed, there is very much a... Oh, don't come this way, girl. Don't come this way. Keep your piglets up towards the mountain. I'm not choosing sides, though, obviously. The lions have got to eat. They don't have a chance to go to the grocery store. Mohammed, there is a story, or at least a myth, that male lions can't hunt or don't do much of the hunting. Male lions are very successful hunters, and they're more than capable. It is certainly true that the lionesses have slightly more stamina because they're lighter and they don't overheat as quickly. So that's where those statistics have been skewed in that sense. But male lions can, and they have to, hunt for themselves. But because they're bigger than the lioness, if you do have a situation where there is a male in the area, he will, in fact, steal the kill from the lionesses or eat the main part of the kill. And depending on the size of the kill, very seldom shares. So the fourth lioness, the lioness that is furthest to the left, the last time I saw her, she disappeared between those two trees up ahead, up and to the left there. She disappeared there. The warthogs are right there. I don't know where she is. That's where I last saw her. She moved between those two trees. So I have absolutely no idea where she is or if she's going to come exploding out of there. The third lioness now moving forward. We need to give them letters so we can keep track. That's lioness number 3. 1 and 2 are now no longer really in the game. Oh, I see the lioness. I see lioness number 4. Her head's just popped up. She's right there. There she is. Just to the right. There. That's her. That's her right there. What's the plan now, girls? Now, this hunt could go on for an extended period of time. I think they're targeting that warthog between them. I think they've decided to leave the ones that have walked past, and they're now trying to move in with a pincer-like movement on that warthog over there, or those 2 warthogs. 3 warthogs. 4 warthogs. The mother with the babies. Miguel, you say, can't the warthogs smell the danger? I suspect that the warthogs can smell that there have been lions somewhere in the area. Lions are very pungent animals, and if they spend an amount of time in an area, then the entire place smells like them. At the moment, the wind is blowing their scent away from the warthogs. Oh, there's an entirely different factor none of us saw coming. But to be honest, if I'm completely honest in my observations of lion hunts, I don't think I've ever seen them try and use the wind to their advantage. So now we've got an additional factor, which just goes to show you don't know how something's going to play out. We've got the baby warthogs that I didn't expect to see, and now, coming down from the escarpment, an entire herd of elephants. And if there's one thing that elephants don't like, it's predators. And they will chase them if they spot them, if they get too close. But the elephants could also be a disadvantage to the warthog because she's distracted by them. She's actually stopped to look at the elephants. She's not looking towards the lions at all. There, see, look how she's looking towards the elephants. Something big moving down the mountain. It is essentially bound to distract her. So 3 animals, all different players. What is running ahead of that elephant there? It's another warthog. There's warthog everywhere. Jan, you say this is amazing to see. It is amazing to see. And it's amazing to see because it gives you a real idea of just how hard animals have to work out here in order to survive. Whether it's the warthog or the lions, everybody has to be on their A game at all times. Remember I mentioned Lioness 1 and 2. Lioness 1 is now creeping forward. I've lost Lioness 2, but Lioness 1 is now stalking towards the warthog. They're trying to line up the circumstances so that everything works. There you can see lean lines of her body sneaking forward while the other animals are distracted. There's Lioness number 2. So 1 and 2 are there. They're moving in now. And essentially what these lionesses are trying to do is wait patiently until the circumstances are exactly right. They don't have the stamina to sustain a chase. They need to get close enough to the warthogs. And they need it to be a situation where they can essentially control a few of the variables in order to be successful. There's an additional factor that the lionesses don't know. They don't know where the warthog's burrows are. Now, warthogs do live below the ground at night, and they have a few burrows that they spend time in when it gets dark. Now, these warthogs have come out of their burrows, but how far away are they? Because chances are, if they get down a burrow, they'll be safe. Mommy warthog still looking at the elephants. Her piglets will take their behavioral cues from her. If she runs, they will run. If she stops, they will stop. If she's relaxed, they will be relaxed. So their safety depends entirely upon her. Mohammed, I'm inclined to say that the eyesight of the lions is better than the warthogs. And the reason I say that is yesterday I watched warthogs walk straight into a lion. Oh, a little bit of panic there from the cubs. Straight towards the 4th lioness. I can't see her anymore. I don't know where she is. I'm inclined to say that lions' eyesight is slightly better than warthogs. It's very much geared towards movement, though. So they're an animal that picks up on movement and naturally chases. Now, there is a third situation. Oh, here come all of the warthogs. They're now panicking a little bit, running a little bit in circles. If they run up towards the top of the mountain, they will be safe. If they run to the left, then we have an interesting scenario, because across to the left of us are 13 lion cubs between the ages of around about 4.5 months and about 8 months old. There you go, see? Little heads popping up, waiting to see if mom's got breakfast for them. Now, they could mess everything up. They're not old enough to hunt yet, not with any sense of skill. Diana, you want to know what percentage of lion hunts result in a kill? Well, it's a statistic that depends very much on circumstances. There's one of the youngsters now watching the warthogs, obviously. So during the migration, they have a much higher kill success rate. But you're probably looking at around about a failure rate of about 80%. So 1 in 5, sometimes even less, lion hunts are successful. 1 or 2 in 10. There go the elephants. The 4th lioness has vanished from my view. I can't find her anymore. And I think the lionesses have missed their opportunity. I think in this case, the warthogs, or maybe not. Warthogs tend to change direction. No, I think that in this case, they failed. Now look at this. Look how amazing this is. 1 and 2 are now out of play because they're too far away from the warthog. So what they're doing is they're actually moving up around, trying to get to the other side of the warthogs. They're trying to move to get behind the warthogs to stop them going up the mountain. But they can only move when they can't be seen. Otherwise, the whole cover is blown. So it's just interesting to see the way in which lions coordinate the hunt, and they shift with the changing circumstances to change their plan, to change their tactics. And I've watched more than a few lion hunts where I've been watching the stalking female and all of a sudden ones come barreling across from the opposite direction. And I didn't even realize had managed to do a loop. The warthog's now moving towards the cubs. I think for now the lioness's opportunity is gone. And it's going to be a while before they can set things up in the way that they were a few minutes earlier. I don't think they're going to be able to go and get those warthogs now. And so, without even getting to the point of the chase, the lion hunt that we've just watched was unsuccessful and just turning on the smallest circumstances. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to say goodbye to you. So from Craig, who is on camera with me, and myself and the Angama Pride, it's been a pleasure sharing this with you, but do stay tuned, because if anything does change or develop, we will be back live with you from the Masai Mara. Okay, so ideally what I'd like to do is move up towards that road, but I'm not going to, because the situation is a little bit delicate and we do run the risk of chasing those warthogs away. They're moving backwards and forwards between the feet of the elephant, but I don't think that the lions are going to tackle. I mean, look at the little ones. I don't think the lions are going to try and tackle a warthog by running into a herd of elephants. Let's face it. So the warthog's actually pretty safe here. Okay, while we watch to see how this scenario plays out, let's head back across to Scotty D on foot and find out if he's managed to avoid the buffalo thorns. Or not. Or you could stay with me if you really want to. You'll just have to wait to find out whether or not Scotty D has walked into any more Ziziphus trees. Buffalo, elephant, warthog, and stalking lions. Okay, shall we try that all again? Let's go and see, now that Louise has beaten TriCaster into a submission and looked at it in a way that was very intimidating. It seems to be working again. Let's try that once more. Off you go to Scott, who is wandering about on foot.
Well done to Louise for pinning down the TriCaster and making it do what it's supposed to do. We have had a wonderful morning out, and we are slowly making our way back to camp. For a short period we thought about following Tundi's tracks that led us to her possible new den site. We thought about backtracking in the hope that it may take us towards a kill, but after a little bit of debating, we kind of guessing that she had an unsuccessful night hunting. Went back to the den site, we followed those tracks. She may have then nursed the cubs and then continued looking for a meal. That's why we found the den site with nobody home. It's unlikely that she was lying off nearby, having a breather from the relentless little cubs, who will be continually trying to nurse from her. So it's not uncommon for mothers to lie up near the den site, but had she have been close enough to detect us, I'm sure she would have let us know that she did not want us snooping around there on foot. Now, the good news is that she is a leopard that will be far more accustomed with us in vehicles. So what we're thinking of doing is heading back there, possibly after drive or possibly this afternoon, just to try and establish if she is in fact there. And who knows, maybe we'll even get a few glimpses of the cubs, who I'm told should be reaching about 4 weeks of age now, roughly. It's impossible to be certain because I don't think anyone knows exactly when she gave birth. But guys do have a good rough idea as to when she started inhabiting the initial den site that I think Tristan found. And you guys will be glad to know that Tristan is back from a break. Oh, good. Herbie's found something. He just indicated to me with a very gentle psst. So he's got a few different sounds that he likes to use. Oh, cool. Well spotted, Herbie. This is going to be tricky for James. This little flower mantid. Yes. Now to give you an idea of how small this little critter is. Oh, there, it's just jumped. I'm just going to put my hand there for a second. I don't know if it's going to help James focusing, but it gives you an idea of how minuscule this little mantis is, and it also gives you an idea of how tuned in our friend Herbie is to his surroundings. For him to spot this little speck is quite a feat. Now, I don't know if you guys can see the antenna of this mantis are waving quite wildly, and I don't think it's the wind, so I'm not too sure why it's bobbing so much. Maybe it's trying to blend in with the small breeze that's blowing. Wonderful. Now that is, I think it's fair to say, the smallest mantis that I've ever seen. James, I'm told, is doing a fabulous job on camera. He's probably running out of oxygen and could keel over at any moment. What I wonder is what tiny little insects this mantis is going to prey on. Because judging by its tiny size, it's going to have a very, very specific prey. Who knows, possibly little pests. No, well done. Possibly small little pests that could be problematic for these little plants. So who knows, maybe it's a good symbiotic relationship between this little mantis and the plant that it is protecting. Hello to, I think it's Cindy, possibly, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, you'd like to know how heavy is the camera and backpack that James is holding. What I can do is I can show you the backpack, or at least attempt to. This isn't going to be pretty, but I'm not obviously going to be able to show you guys the camera. The camera's probably about 1 kilogram. So James has got himself well positioned there. There we go. And then if I just come around here, you can see the backpack. There we go. And then here is the long antenna pole that causes trouble that they have to negotiate when moving through the thicker vegetation. So what he'll do is he'll bend forward and be like a knight with a lance. There we go. That's his blade of grass that he likes to chew whilst being on camera. But to be honest, Anne-Marie, the tech team have done an incredible job in fixing up this backpack and modifying it over the ages. So now it's very light. I'm not actually sure, maybe 3 kilos, 6 pounds? If that. Another interesting little bug. I'm not too sure what it is. James?
I think it's a hymenopterid of some sort.
Okay, there we go. We will stick with a hymenopterid of sorts. Thank you, James. The beautiful colours, iridescent wings. And again, it's just such a good lesson for me, and I guess for everyone, that once you stop and start taking a closer look at your surroundings, you tend to find so many little interesting little bugs and animals. And this is another good example. Earlier on, we stopped this morning and found 2 different little insects very close to one another. Here again. Very good. Beautiful. Okay. Can I give you a hand, James? Are you all good? James is thankfully probably more agile than any of our cameramen, so he requires less babysitting than the others do. I hope none of the other cameramen are watching, otherwise I'll be in trouble. Okay, good stuff. Well, we're going to keep plodding along. We do have quite a trek to get back to camp, and who knows what we may bump into along the way. So while we continue, we will send you off to Noel, who is on the search for anything, I think.
Hello! Okay, so we refound our elephants from earlier, and they've gone from moving quite quickly towards the dam to moving quite slowly towards the dam. So we've come down an old 2-track for an old hyena den, and I can hear them in the bushes just off to the sides here. But because it has warmed up so nicely, they're really, I can just see tails and ears every now and then. There's just one now. Ferg, did you, I think maybe we need to go more left, Ferg. You see that one? And, hold on, keep going left. It was right about in there. Just hang there for a minute. Do you see what I see? There we go. Thanks, Ferg. There's just the ears cooling down as they slowly plod along. Yeah, it's interesting. Look, I mean, elephants are very large, but they're very good at hiding themselves, and they're also, there's a little bit more movement. They're also good at blending into their environment. These ones today are being particularly quiet. A lot of that has to do with the grass that they're eating. When they start ripping down larger branches, then it's easier to hear them. But if they're just pulling up grass, all you're hearing every now and then is them breathing through their trunks. You can hear their dung fall on the ground, and a little bit of the scraping of the branches along their bodies. This is one of my favorite things to do, is to just park off and just sit and watch elephants. I find it very relaxing. I'm also listening to the bird sounds in the background. There's a younger one coming through. Something for me that's really important to remember about elephants, because everybody loves elephants, there's just something about them that draws people, is because of the fact that we all really enjoy them, but also because of the fact in many parts of Africa they're poached quite heavily for their ivory, for their tush. We have a tendency to want to save all of them and sort of latch on to all of them. So with that in mind, I just want to chat a little bit about ecosystems and how ecosystems are open and how ecosystems need, they regulate themselves, but they also need input, so resources and materials from other ecosystems, and they need all of that to function within each other. So they can't function within a vacuum or a bubble. But they are self-regulating, so they can contain themselves to a point, but that containment only works as long as we have sunshine from above, and as long as water systems function the way they need to function and move the way they need to move, so that resources are continually replenished that way. Also, they are self-regulating because of organisms that break down nutrients into the soil and back into the systems. And if we create little islands, little pockets of wilderness areas, which we have done in many parts of Africa or many parts of the world in general, we're actually stopping that input-output between the ecosystems, and then the self-regulation actually breaks down. So that can be whether we change water courses because of a dam, or if we put too much human habitation and just leave little pockets of bush. So one place where that's happened quite hectically is the rainforests in South America. Another place is in parts of Africa where they do lots of logging. It's definitely affected the forest elephant communities up there. So it's just our little thought for the day about, yes, these elephants are important, but they're also part of the ecosystem, and the ecosystem needs to function together. So we need everything, not just these elephants, and not just the wildebeest, and not just the birds, but also all of those smaller things that help give the food for the elephants to eat and for the birds to eat, etc., etc. Oh, Kathy, I'm actually so glad that you asked me this. So several game drives ago, several game drives ago, we were talking about elephants and vocalization. And where does the... Oh, quick, Licton, Jamie! Go to Jamie! Go to Jamie!
Okay, the warthogs just panicked and they ran. The lionesses caught a piglet. And it is something very difficult for us to watch. Sorry, everyone. We rushed you over. It happened so quickly. There we go. The lioness has still got the piglet. Definitely not a sight for sensitive viewers. We are sorry. It's always a disturbing thing. I think the lioness might still have run after another warthog, and they might even have caught another one. The whole group went sprinting along, and it is all over for that little piglet, and I think there's another one as well. Are the cubs all running in? This is not a meal for them at all. This is not going to feed the entire group. And in fact, the cubs aren't even trying to feed from this particular lioness's kill. Oh, that happened so quickly. They just panicked. Oh, look, the lioness has got another warthog over there. She caught one there. So it was the lioness waiting in the tree. The lioness has got a warthog over there, and there is a third one. The one lioness has got a third warthog off to the right of us. So in total, it looks like each or 3 out of the 4 adult lionesses. If you go all the way to the right by the cars there, I think she's got one in her mouth. Yeah. Oh, I think poor Mom just lost all 3 of her piglets in one go, by the looks of things. And 3 out of the 4 lionesses have got a warthog. That is incredible, absolutely incredible. It took me so by surprise. I'm so sorry. I just didn't expect to see it happening. But at least you got to miss the worst part of it. They just came sprinting, and it was such an easy job. I'm wrong. I think all 4 lionesses have got something. Quick and easy breakfast. I think the 4th lioness has got a warthog as well, all the way over there. The cubs are racing towards her. An absolute warthog massacre. Oh, no, my warthog. Oh, that's very macabre, but fortunately the warthog is now no longer alive, so it's no longer suffering. Running away from the cub. You can just get an idea of how massive these lionesses are compared to the warthog piglets. I mean, she's holding that thing in her mouth right over its head without any difficulty at all. And that would have been a very, very quick death for that little piglet. The strength of her jaw would have ended it so fast. Well done to the lions, although I don't think they're going to get much of a meal out of this. Lioness has taken her warthog piglet all the way away from the cubs to feed on it. I don't think most of these cubs are even going to get a mouthful of this. The 3rd lioness has hidden herself behind the bushes over there. No, I was mistaken. It is only 3 warthog kills. Benedictov, you say that, the poor piglets, which I agree, the poor warties, but at the same time, for the lions, it's like splitting a bag of chips, or getting a bag of chips. It's a perfect description. That's exactly what it is like. And unfortunately, after all of that effort, all of that work that they've put into that stalk, I don't think that most of them are going to get much out of that meal at all. Now, in this particular case, Those baby warthogs are still growing, which means that the lioness will probably eat the entire thing from top to toe. Because the bones are so soft, her powerful jaws will be able to masticate the entire body. Sure, that happened so. This is the second time warthogs have taken me by surprise. I sit and think that the hunt is over, and all of a sudden the very silly warthogs walk straight into the lions. And yesterday they got away with it. Today, unfortunately, they have not. Shame, little cub who's going to go jogging towards that lioness. I don't think it's going to be met with a very warm reception. It just goes to show those lionesses know what they're doing. They know when to chase and when not to. They know when it's going to work out to their advantage. Oh, little one. I don't think Mom's going to want to share. Oh, I would say Mom doesn't want to share. If that response was anything to go by. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody doesn't order any food and then they keep stealing some of your plate? That's what I look like when somebody does that to me. Cheetah, you say that perhaps the warthogs, or that you're guessing that the warthogs will give the lionesses a bit of fuel and a bit of energy, and do I think they will go straight back to hunting after this? I think there is a very strong possibility that they are going to hunt again during the course of the day. And the reason that I say that is because there are zebra moving down, there are topi moving down. And as you said, as we've discussed, the warthogs are, there's the zebra at the back, warthogs are not a particularly filling meal for these poor hungry cubs. They're not going to get a bite. Not one bite. They're going to try, but you can see already the lioness is snarling at them. The other two lionesses have actually disappeared into the long grass. Oh, little cubs. She's going off. She's off. She's had it. It's my warthog. My warthog. Here comes the adult lioness. She going to try and get some? Dean, well, it's a pragmatic approach, and all lions fight for their place at the dinner table from as young as 6 weeks old. The lionesses have to keep themselves fed, and the lionesses are hungrier looking than the cubs are. To be pragmatic about it, if they are too weak to hunt, then the cubs will die as well. So they have to keep themselves fed. Oh! Tug of war. She's outnumbered, though. The cubs are determined. You've got to give it to them. They are not letting her get away with just moving the meal away from them. They are harassing her. I think... Oh, shame. That's why. The lioness wanted to gulp down a few bites before she lost it entirely. So it's not that she doesn't want to feed her cubs, it's that she actually doesn't have the resources to feed her cubs. It's a tiny meal. Ooh, some of those cubs are looking a bit thin, though. They really are. It's tough, lean times for the Angama pride. It's just the way that the world works, swings and roundabouts, and at the moment nobody's getting much of anything in that pile. I do want to drive around, I want to reposition, although I think that by the time that we do, that warthog meal is going to be pretty much gone. 3 tiny piglets, it really isn't sufficient. So I do think they're going to continue hunting today. I don't know what time. The lionesses probably want to have a rest. Okay, I'm going to go quickly loop around and get to a better view of the lionesses. Let's head across to Taylor to find out if her morning's been quite as exciting as ours.
We haven't actually seen much, unfortunately. Just a couple of birds. She did some good birding, and now we've got this beautiful wallow. Actually, I don't know why there's no buffalo here. If I was a buffalo, this is probably the spot that I would choose. It's spacious, there's lots of room, so it means also the water's not going to get too hot, so it should help cool me down. And a nice view sheltered by the very, very tall grass that is everywhere at the moment, and of course makes it quite difficult when it comes to finding lions. I have seen, though, some animals now, ones that haven't been strangers to us this morning, and that's the elephants. They've been about, and there's actually a couple just coming down off of the escarpment, which is quite nice. And I think it's a big bull. Here's my binoculars before I start shouting out things. Or are you just an overly large cow? Got quite a round head, hasn't it? I think it's a beautiful big boy. Although we do see some cows out here that have got enormous tusks. Now normally we obviously see bigger tusks on the boys. It doesn't have a particularly square head, which is another way that you can use to tell if it's a male or a female. But let's wait till we see, well, the backside. But there's lots of them. Lots of ellies. How many have I got? 1, 2, and then I did see some more, but I think they've just disappeared behind the grass. They're still coming up over the ridge. Might be a small little herd on their way around. But other than that, pretty quiet, eh, Manu? Those lions are MIA. I don't know where they've disappeared to, unfortunately. Maybe we'll get them this afternoon. I saw one of the Angama guides, and she said she's having a particularly quiet morning too. She hasn't really seen much at all. Alright, so let's carry on. Maybe we get a cheetah. What do you think, Manu? We'll keep scanning. I think we'll go all the way along the escarpment road and kind of finish it off at the forest. That'll be the plan. So another thing Manu and I were laughing at, one of the roads we were driving on, the grass is so tall, it was up to the door, and we couldn't see where the mud wallows started and ended. And the buffalo have been having an absolute ball, and I'm sure the warthogs and all sorts of other things. And as we were driving, sometimes the car would just completely disappear in water and out it would come. So we've got to be careful, and that's maybe my advice for the day is don't just drive through a little puddle on the road. You'll be surprised. If you've ever seen a buffalo sitting in a small pan before, and how their bodies basically are completely submerged and just their heads are sticking out, but in the smallest hole ever, so they can get quite deep. But we'll keep looking, and maybe we'll find cheetah along the escarpment. Scott is watching some really cool insects.
Well, you came at an inopportune moment as this poor dung beetle rolled all the way down this small bank. It probably rolled about 60 or 70 centimeters. Now it's getting its bearings, doing the obligatory 360 on top of the mound to work out where it's ended up, and now it's heading straight back up, or at least attempting to, in the same direction from whence it came rolling down. Now you'll notice that this individual has broken off a back segment of its back right leg there, so that's probably going to be complicating his matters a little bit. Another 360. You can also see how his head is still covered in little bits of dung from when it was still wet when he was rolling it up. Now his body's dried up, but the dung is still wet. And what I don't realize with these guys is, why is it and how is it that they work out where it is they want to take this ball of dung? At the moment it seems like it may be wanting to take it into James's pants. It was touching up against his knee there. But yeah, why doesn't it just decide to go downhill rather than uphill? And what does it feel is going to be better for its little larvae up on this hill? Maybe some thicker vegetation it's looking for, who knows? But whenever I find them, it's going from bad to worse. So to give you an idea of where it started out, just before you came to us, it had made it all the way up here. And then it rolled down to about there as you joined us, and now it's all the way and it continues to go back. So it's just expending so much energy for what, in my opinion? I just don't understand. Unless it's enjoying rolling back down the hill on its bolus, which I'm sure it isn't. It must be highly frustrating. Interesting stuff. It's been wonderful to see all the dung beetles about, and they're doing a very, very important job recycling these nutrients back into the soil And this is just the first step. They'll lay an egg inside this little bolus and leave it buried under the ground. And if any mongoose or animals like that don't find it and eat the little grub, it will eventually hatch and consume the dung. No problem, James is just repositioning. Could have been a bit shaky. Hello Cassie, you'd like to know if the dung beetles need to have a mate before making the dung ball, and that is a good question. I'm not too sure. I'm guessing the answer to that could be yes, because its next step, once it eventually gets to where it wants to go, will be to bury it. And once it's buried, I'm sure the egg is already inside. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will present it to a female, within which she will decide to lay the egg if she thinks the bolus is sufficient for her child to grow up in. I mean, the plight of a dung beetle. Imagine how much energy they expend. Now, what's really interesting is that there's another one coming also uphill. This one seems to have more energy and all of its legs working. Look at it go. It's absolutely cruising. And it looks like it's some elephant dung that they've decided to snack on. The elephant dung's just behind me over here. It looks quite fresh from last night, and there's a few of them doing their business. But what will be interesting, oh no ways, another one just rolled down from behind you, James. So it definitely seems to be the trend that all of these individuals are wanting to go up. Well, that one just abandoned the bolus and has flown off. Again, inexplicable behavior, because there was nothing wrong with it. Here's a little bolus here, and it completely abandoned it. It just decided to fly off. There's another one that I spotted all the way over here that also came rolling back down the hill. So now what I'm guessing is that maybe these dung beetles know that this is a low-lying area that could possibly be filled up with water once it rains, and if that is the case, then the larvae would drown. So maybe that is why they are trying to get up onto higher ground. How they would compute and work that all out, I'm not too sure. Incredible. Hello Stanley, you would like to know if there's any other animals that will collect feces or scat like dung beetles do. And other than birds for nesting material, I can't think of any. James, can you think of any? No, I can't think of any that will collect other animals' dung. And I mean, what's incredible about this is that they are, like I said a bit earlier, creating a little larder for their young grubs to feed on once they hatch from within that bolus. So a very good kind of package to leave your child with as it enters the earth. What would also be interesting to know is how many boluses a dung beetle may be able to bury in its lifetime. How many balls will it bury in a season? Is it a ball a day or sometimes more? I mean, considering how far these guys have already got today, it's only just the morning and they've already got one ball heading off towards its new home. So maybe 2 or 3 balls a day, each with a little grub in them. Hello to Courtney, you'd like to know if they only lay 1 egg per dung ball. And as far as I'm aware, yes. But you'll probably find that there are quite a few different species of them that will behave slightly differently. Some of them will bury these boluses immediately at the site where the ball is rolled, whereas these guys are transporting them a distance away from there. Oh no, off it goes. Well done, James. High action shooting following a dung beetle as it rolls down the hill. And here it goes again. Now, if any of you think you're having a hard day, put yourself in this dung beetle's 6 shoes and imagine how frustrating it's getting. Sure. They don't even stop for a breather, just straight back into it. Very, very good. Okay. Well, we are going to probably move on. Well, actually, let's have a quick look. I feel bad watching these guys fail attempt after attempt. So what I would like to do is go back to this pile of dung where they are all still actively, or there's some other dung beetles actively working their boluses, so you can get to see a bit of a before and after. So quite fascinating from this pile of mildly digested elephant dung. Quite a few big pieces and particles that they have to negotiate. So all these little twigs are going to make it obviously difficult for the ball to be rolled up perfectly. But with the dung beetle's incredibly powerful little legs, they can fashion and shape those perfectly round balls, even though there are quite a lot of large twigs that get in the way. Let's see if this guy's trying to find a good spot. I mean, where do you begin? How do they start working out which is a good section of dung to start crafting? I think the main thing with these little animals is that just they've got a will to not give up and get the job done. So with enough effort and time, they've managed to work that out. There's so many cool little bugs popping around here. I just saw a grasshopper that's camouflaged like a stone, and as it hopped into the oh, there it is. Okay, under the blade of grass here, James, sorry I'm throwing you around, but there's a shadow. The grasshopper's midway along the shadow.
Oh, yes.
Look at how incredibly well it blends in with that sand. This little patch is the perfect coloration. Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm just going to...
Oh! No, you can't because it's hopped away. My bad. Okay. Well, you may have got a little glimpse of that little grasshopper. Here's another slightly smaller dung beetle that's making a little mini ball. Wonderful. Okay. Well, as these dung beetles go about their morning business, finding their youngsters a future meal, you guys are going to be heading off back to Jamie with the lions snacking on theirs.
One warthog down, another 2 to go, and the lioness is guarding their precious kills. So the lioness on the right under the tree, she's the one with the warthog kill, and so far she's disciplined about 3 overly eager cubs that got too close to it. You can see her tail thrashing, her ears back. She's not sharing. But remember at the beginning of the sighting, I said to you that the cubs looked slightly better fed than the females did. So I think the females were really starting to feel particularly hungry, and she's not sharing at all. I would, of course, love for you to hear the sounds of the cubs begging, which they have been doing, but unfortunately there's lots of vehicles around, so all you'll hear is engines. Oh! Okay, we could maybe try now, because the vocalizations are amazing. Lots of begging. I've tried to do a head count now that we've got most of them together. I can only count 16. 15 here, and one all the way down, sort of towards the bushes. I'm afraid, unfortunately, apparently you're not hearing the sounds that I'm trying to show to you. I'm sorry about that. I thought it was worth a try though, because the sounds of cubs begging and feeding it's just too sweet. Ow, 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 ow. That's basically what do you think, Craig? Do you think that was pretty close?
It wasn't bad.
Craig says, wasn't bad. But basically from Craig means it was the best impression he's ever heard. Joy, no. The cubs are now pretty much fully... Just giving a cub another smack. The cubs are now pretty much fully weaned. By 6 months of age, all lion cubs are at the point where they are weaned. There's a bit of variation within that age because, of course, older cubs get to suckle for younger than younger cubs do because they can suckle from the mothers of the younger cubs. It's the lovely thing about lions, of course, that they do allo suckle. So they suckle cubs that are not theirs. But when it comes to a baby warthog, the spirit of generosity is lacking. You definitely can't hear that. It's such a pity. Kathy, if a cub managed to get a bit of a kill, it was a scrap. The lionesses have pretty much dominated this particular kill, or kills, as the case may be. So it was definitely 3 baby warthog that were caught, and the lionesses have each consumed them, which actually means that one lioness went hungry. The one who didn't manage to catch a warthog, she's gone hungry, and the cubs have gone hungry as well, for now. It doesn't mean that that's going to, as we've already spoken about, lions do hunt throughout the day, even if they are at their most active in the evening. So I think that there's a chance these lions are going to try and keep these cubs, or get these cubs a more substantial meal. But, as we've pointed out, the lionesses have to make sure that they are fed. Oh! Such an angry lioness. Oh, we were talking about the cubs and the weaning. You might find that the mother of the youngest cubs is still lactating. They're only about 4.5 months old, so there's a chance that she's still suckling them. But essentially, the cubs are now all pretty much reliant on the food that their mothers catch for them. It makes sense. It might seem harsh that the cubs are not allowed any part of the meal, but it really does make sense that the lionesses have to put themselves first. They're of no use to the cubs if they are exhausted and hungry. And a baby warthog apiece will keep them going for a while. And this is what I was talking about when I said that you'll find that they'll eat the entire warthog piglet. You can see how she's breaking it down. Lions can go for a considerable period of time without food, but the cutoff point is very clear because they will get to a point where they are too weak to actually be able to hunt, and then obviously their decline becomes far more rapid. So you're probably looking at around about 3 weeks or so, depending on the condition of the lion, what's wrong with it, why it can't hunt. And again, depends on if it's an old lion, if it's a young lion. Cubs obviously need to eat more often than the females do. That's just like children, Children will struggle more than adults in terms of resilience to being hungry. Baby warthog ground down and masticated to the nth degree. Giraffe eccentric, you want to know how many how many giraffe, now listen to me. You want to know basically what the warthog piglet survival rate is. I would say it is not particularly high. Everything wants to eat a baby warthog. Those poor things, they are, not to use not to use a bad term, but they're essentially cocktail sausages for most of the animals out here. They're slower, they're less alert, they're easy to catch, they're easy to eat. So I'm not sure exactly what the survival rate in this particular area is, but I would say that it's far less than 50% and probably less than 30% of warthogs will survive to their first year. And that's usually where the survival rate rapidly increases for all animals, once they make it to that first year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, talking. Lots of talking. Not a reason to be concerned, by the way, the fact that I'm only counting 16. I could easily have missed one of them. Easily. The 16th lioness is up against those bushes at the back still. That's where she is. She's there. You can just see the movement of her ear. So she could easily have a cub with her. Raylan, you want to know where all of the adult male lions are. So a male lion is not part of a pride. A pride is made up of females and cubs. And all of those females will be related to each other. So the pride has a territory, the home that they live in. And then what you'll find is that a group, either one male lion, but most commonly a group or a coalition of male lions, will be dominant over the territory that contains the territory of the lionesses. There we go, one. They're still suckling. They're still trying to suckle. Not getting very much out of it, and the lioness is getting very cross, but there's still some suckling going on. What was I about to say? Oh, yes. So the male lions aren't always with the females because they don't belong to the pride. They'll move about. They have to patrol their territorial boundaries. They might be with one of their other prides because their territory will encompass the territory of several different prides, so they could be anywhere. Last time I saw them, they were just behind the gate 2 days ago. I don't know where they are today, but you won't find them with the females always. And in fact, what you will find, and I've noticed this, lionesses are more reluctant to hunt when the males are around. They'll still do it, of course, but if it's a small meal and they see it coming, they know they're going to lose it to the male, and they actually sometimes don't even bother. Or they try and pretend that they've never killed anything. All right, we're going to sit here and I think wind up our morning with the Angama lions. Let's head back across to Taylor, who hasn't had such good luck this morning, but that's okay. It works in swings and roundabouts.
Oh, I'm so sorry, you've just caught me masticating, sorry. Having a little breakfast snack. Oh, that was delicious, thank you, Manu. Manu gave me a little biscuit of sorts. Cookie, what else do they call them? What do they call them in America? A cookie. Like a cookie. It sounds weird to say that word. Anyways, it was covered with chocolate, obviously. And anyway, so there we go, sorry about that. So we're just driving along the forest now. No luck with the small sausage tree pride lions. I don't know where they're gone, unless they've sort of started moving further and further up the escarpment. Manu said he saw them, what, 2 weeks ago? About 2 weeks ago, and he said quite far up the escarpment, so they're moving around slightly. And like I said, it's been particularly quiet. Hopefully our luck is going to change. It's been interesting just to see the different areas. I now know where I'm going to go next time we have a birding challenge. The amount of widow birds that are out at the moment are incredible. And then of course when you're in these areas where the forest is nearby, we've still got to do the African emerald cuckoo, we can do the Narina trogon again, and both of those species have been calling a fair amount. I don't even know if I did briefly tell you about my experience with an African emerald cuckoo. And every time we go for these hikes now, I hear them, they just taunt me. And I want to show everybody, but do you think I can find them? No, of course I only see them on my own. I'm sure people don't believe half the stuff that I say. But this is also black rhino country, so there's an opportunity that we're going to see a black rhino. I haven't seen any sign of them since I've been back. Oh, I suppose it's only my second game drive out, isn't it? I shouldn't be too hard on myself. Maybe we will start to do a bit of birding and see which ones we can find. Now, I say that, we won't see one. We'll have a look here. We can get quite close up to the forest. We'll see if there's any puffbacks or anything up in the tree. Now, Bella, you're wondering what the weather and temperature is like in the Mara today? Ooh, should we play the guessing game? I don't know what the temperature is exactly, but I have my jacket on. I should take it off. It feels like it's maybe about 22 degrees Celsius at the moment. Maybe Alice can check for me or Lou can check for me to get the exact temperature. And it's pretty clear today. Hardly any clouds in the sky. You can see the blue sky just at the back through all the trees. You can see there's some birds that are starting to call. The very high-pitched one that almost mouse bird like. Now, unfortunately I'm not getting the temperature for what I'm experiencing, but apparently it's going to be 37. Let me check. Let me go into my weather. But that 37 is going to be in the Sabi sand. Yeah, it's very hot. Weather. Let's open it up. There we go. Alice says that it is 19 degrees. I disagree. My phone says 22 degrees Celsius right now. So I'm going to go, I don't know. I trust my phone. What do you think, Manu?
Yeah.
I think it's 22. It says it's going to be up to about 27 degrees Celsius today. So not particularly hot. It's such beautiful weather, but I think we're going to be seeing many thunderstorms in the afternoon. It's going to be like Johannesburg all over again. Yay! But no birds. They're singing deep into the forest. The only other things we can hear are all the different insects. Quite a beautiful sound. Oh, the sound is incredible. It's not cicadas, it's something else. Lots of locusts or grasshoppers and things jumping about at the moment, so it might be them. Or crickets, who knows. So, Sassy, you said you'd like to see a secretary bird. I haven't seen one secretary bird since I've been back. It's like they've all morphed into crowned cranes, because just as many secretary birds as I was seeing before I went on leave have now come back, and I'm seeing that amount, but in crowned cranes, which is quite interesting. So we'll look. Let's actually do that. Or the grass has just got so tall now that the secretary birds are hidden away, because there were a couple of pairs that were nesting along this main road. So I don't know where they have all gone. No little birds hopping about. It would have been nice to see some of the smaller ones. Perhaps I'm scaring them away. Typically when you do birding, you sit quietly. Now to get me to sit quietly and do anything is virtually impossible. Okay, so we'll just go around. And maybe there's always secretary birds around here. Has anybody guessed the word of the day yet? No one? Surely there must be some guesses. Who just dived in there? Louise, I think you tried to talk to me, but I didn't quite hear it. There's Rufus Snake Larps. Jared's buddy, I think you're the winner. I think we have figured out what the word of the day is. So well done to Jared's buddy. It was a variation of mastication, or either masticate, which is to chew. To chew. I was deciding on how I was going to use it this morning. Manu and I were thinking of different things, because Lou said she was going to come to me and she's going to ask me if I'd used the word yet, and I was like, well, maybe we can slip it in somewhere. And I was like, we've only seen grass, we haven't actually seen any animals to go with, to watch them chew. Anyways, so yes, so my little biscuit was a little stunt. I did that on purpose. I saved the last little bit as they were linking across to me. Okay, right, well done. Very, very clever. You guys are getting too smart now. We're going to have to make them less obvious. Wait. I'm going to show you. There's you see that stump? To the right of the stump, there's a little bird just sitting on that little green shrub. If you go, then where's it gone now? Have you got it? Oh, there it is. It looked like a rufous-naped lark. As it landed, it had its sort of little crest all sticking up, but now I don't know. Maybe a bit on the warm side. See if there are any more around there. Maybe it's a completely different bird. No, I'm pretty sure. I actually don't know what that was now. If you get a screenshot, that'd be great. There was a rufous-naped lark that just sat up on top, but now with that light, where's my bird book? It doesn't look like it at all. I have to. Oh, this is my favorite, my big bird book. It's so difficult to try and do anything quickly. Lark. Oh my goodness, and there's so many of them. I've even got to go to the next page. Rufous nape 330. Let's go. Let's just quickly confirm. Maybe it would be nice enough if it would just sit up on that log. No, it's not. What lark was that then? I'm not sure. It's got a very white supercilium. Oh, is it a pipit? No, it is one of the... Maybe it is a pipit. Or a long claw? I don't know. I need to get back into birding again. But it was definitely the same sort of rufous colours with the brown sort of blotches and stripes and streaks and all sorts of things on its back. It was very mottled in colour. But I think the one that I saw that I wanted to show you has now flown away. And there was something else that just popped up. It's got a very long bill though. A very, very long bill. Like a... Lark's not as long. Anyways, we'll figure what that is a bit later. I'll take my book to breakfast with me. Let's keep going. Okay, I think... Can I still do what you told me to do, Louise? Let's see if there's any more little birds sitting here. Sorry, we're laughing because I have to just tell you, so we're obviously getting ready for TV. We're making sure that everything is working nicely in the car, and there's a little switch that Manu uses to turn his radio comms onto open comms or onto secret comms so that no one can hear them. But every time he puts his elbow down, he beeps the button, and so you will hear us every now and then. We might have to move it around, but we'll keep driving. Maybe we'll find some hornbills or something really cool to have a look at all the secretary birds for Sassy. Jamie's still with the lions. I wonder if they're still finishing off breakfast.
The lioness is still finishing off breakfast because she doesn't have her time, or she doesn't have a chance to actually open her mouth long enough to chew on the warthog without somebody trying to sneak in and steal it. So it's been a slow process watching her consume the warthog. Bravo to those of you that caught on to the word of the day. I think that might have been a bit of an obvious one. There was some serious... one might say some serious debate in camp about using the word masticate this morning. Vegas beauty spot, you would like to know, because you missed it earlier, how many piglets were caught. 3 piglets were caught. It happened so unbelievably quickly. It took both Craig and myself completely by surprise. I don't quite know exactly how it was initiated. I think the lioness that had been hiding under the trees somehow snuck around and chased the piglets down towards the rest of the lionesses. And 3 out of the 4 of them managed to catch something. And the 4th lioness actually went for the adult warthog, but she didn't succeed. She might even, you might even find that she was making sure that the mother didn't come back to try and rescue her piglets. I mean, we've seen the cheetah do that when they hunt the wildebeest, and we've seen lions do it when they're hunting buffalo to try and keep the buffalo away from the rest of the pride. So it might have been that's what she was trying to do. But 3 in total, so ultimately a piglet massacre. Oh, lots of growling. Oh, you see, every time she tries to chew, they all climb on top of her and try to steal it from her. So she hasn't managed to eat it nearly as quickly. Listen to the sounds. Ambient right up. Great. Thanks so much, Alice. shame. The cubs are getting desperate. Imagine what it's like watching, well, I suppose some of you won't have to, but watching somebody eat when you can't eat yourself. I'm very sorry, Lou. I got distracted by the growling. I didn't hear what Peter asked. Oh, Becca. Becca was wondering why all of the cubs ganged up on one lioness. Well, it worked in their favor, actually, because they managed to distract her long enough that just by sheer numbers, even though she's much stronger than them, just by sheer numbers, they managed to actually grab a few bites from her by overwhelming her. So I think I don't know if it's a thought-out tactic, but I think that there was some sense to there was method to their madness. I still only count 16 lions, but that does not mean that we're missing one necessarily. It just means that I haven't spotted the 17th. Or there's a good chance it only means that I haven't spotted the 17th. The grass is long, the lions are spread out, or the warthog kills were spread out. So it could just be I've missed a cub somewhere, or it's feeling lazy and lying in the shade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now I can't even count them properly at all. They're all gathered together. Oh, little ones. That wasn't a very satisfying meal at all. Lots of whining happening. You see, Dina K and Buddy, Dina K is on the same page as me. That's what I sound like when someone tries to steal my chocolate too. I described it earlier as when somebody doesn't order any food but they pick off your plate. That's my response. In fact, you might even get 2 elbows on either side of the plate. And possibly a broken finger if it persists. I agree. That's exactly what I sound like. That's exactly what I sound like when somebody tries to steal my chocolate. Fortunately, Brent doesn't really like chocolate, so it's not a problem I often have. Although the camp chocolate does disappear at an alarming rate. Nursey, what I've been doing while we've been sitting here is looking to see if I see any other cars gathered anywhere that might give away the position of the male lions. 2 days ago, they were very, very close to where we are now, close enough that they would have heard the sounds of the lionesses eating and possibly come to investigate. As it happens, it's always unexpected moments. Oh, she's so cross. This is my warthog. So every now and again, you get that growling sound in it. If the males were close, I think they would have arrived by now to investigate and see what was going on. The sounds of this kill have not been subtle. Oh, should we go watch them drink, Craig? What do you think? That's going to be so pretty. Thirsty work, hunting warthogs. Hello, Mum. Hello, Mum. Chatty Meg, lovely to hear your name so regularly again. No, there's no real dominant female within a pride. A pride doesn't have a hierarchy. a lot of the time what you'll find is that the older females are the ones who guide the movements of the pride. But then again, on the flip side of that coin, a lot of the time the ones that initiate the hunt are the younger members of the pride. So there's no real boss, and it just happens to be whoever's feeling at their strongest, in their best condition. I must say, these cubs do look a little thin to me. Not alarmingly thin, just a little hungry, like they could really do with a good solid meal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16. I keep coming up with 16. Okay, so we're going to sit here and enjoy the peace that has come after the warthog storm. Let's go across to Taylor, see if she's had any luck with some secretary birds.
No, we haven't. We were just trying to catch a spider. It was, well, being a trapeze artist, and it had formed a line of web all, well, the length of the car. And, oh, I've got it, Manu. It's back. But then what happened? No, not again! Basically, it dropped down, and it's a defense mechanism. Okay, I'm going to put it on the box. No, come. It's a defense mechanism. Basically, it's trying to get to the ground and hide away. No, gone forever. It's not going to live in the car. Anyway, it looked like it was an orb-web spider of sorts. Now we've just stopped at this little pan. Not much going on. There goes a hammerkop though, flying across the water's edge, and also actually not sticking around for very long at all. The heron did exactly the same thing. It was a big grey heron that also flew off and went somewhere else. And they've been digging here. I think it's because they've been sort of the roads, which is quite with all the there's many that are around too, so it'll make it quite easy for the heron and as well as a hammerkorb to get some also to catch some fish, frogs. What else would be in there? Maybe little crustaceans, who knows. It's gonna go back onto the road now, but you can see, look how quiet it is. I'll just park down here, and there isn't very much. The only thing that I can see straight away is a couple of elephants, and there's something in between the elephants too. Or is it just a small elephant? Probably just no, it's a little elephant. There's two little ones just moving around, getting lost in the grass. But other than that, this morning it is very, very quiet. Very, very quiet. And you can see how the roads are almost starting to disappear now amongst the grass too. I can't believe how quickly it recovers. It's interesting to see, because we often talk about how with there being many different vehicles driving around, especially on the Masai Mara National Reserve side, how the area has become quite eroded. But now I can see that actually with the amount of rain that you get here and the quality of grass, it recovers very, very quickly. That's impressive. That road, which is a proper road and gets driven often, is now almost completely gone. Very cool. But nothing sitting in the shade underneath those Balanites trees. That's where we've been looking for leopards, lions and cheetah, but not this morning. Maybe we'll get lucky in the afternoon. You can't always have a very busy game drive. And there's a few birds that I've taken photos of, which I'll need to have a look at and try and identify a little bit later. And maybe this watering hole will be a bit more popular as the day starts to get hotter and hotter. Anyways, I will see you again on the Sunset Safari, but for now I'm going to send you back across to Jamie for the last few minutes of the show.
And what a lovely morning it has been. The Angama Pride have provided us with a full morning's worth of entertainment. And I think that we'll be back this afternoon for the Sunset Safari just to see whether or not they've had any fortune changes in terms of actually providing a meal for the cubs as well as the adults. They haven't been, well, I suppose you could say they did get lucky this morning. They could have missed entirely. But it's not much use to the hungry cubs. Growl, 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 moan, whine, whinge. Oh, I know. Oh, he's talking. so much to say. Hungry. Hungry. Shame. It's amazing how their lives yo-yo from having a time of absolute gluttony to having a time of not nothing, but really the pickings are so slim for the lions at the moment. It really is a shame. I do feel sorry for them. But we'll come back this afternoon and we'll see whether or not perhaps those zebra descend down the mountain and provide them with a meal. I certainly hope so. I, for one, hope so. Then we can do a proper head count and check. And so, on that note, it has been an absolutely lovely drive. Thank you to Craig and the rest of the Safari Live team, Alice and Lou in South Africa. Most importantly, a big thank you and, of course, a congratulations for guessing our word of the day. We will catch up with you on the Sunset Safari. Who knows what it will hold.